Welcome to the Digital Business Evolution Podcast, a place that you can now call home. I know you're creating long-lasting impact in this world, and you absolutely deserve the time, location, career, and financial freedom that you desire. I'm here to guide you with proven strategies, tools, and mindset hacks that I've taught to thousands of business owners. You'll also be hearing from exceptional guests sharing stories of their own personal and business evolution. My name is Jessica DeRose, and I'm here to teach you what I'm learning. We are all inherently worthy, regardless of the number of degrees, awards, and accolades that we've collected along the way. Grab a notebook, a coffee, and enjoy the show. Hey, I'm jumping on real quick to let you know about a really cool opportunity to work with me completely for free. So every Tuesday, I'm offering coaching over texting. And that means the first 10 people to text me on my number and ask me a question, I'm going to coach them back completely for free. Voice memos, long form text, it 100% is me. This is the stuff that lights me up most in my business. So your questions can be anything from business to strategy, working with your spouse, RV life. Really, there are no questions off the table. You just need to make sure that you get it in quickly on Tuesdays because I am only coaching the first 10 people. So my number is 973-358-7836. This is for US numbers only. Make sure on Tuesdays you text me your questions. I'll get you your answers, and you'll be added to my text community where you're going to be getting different texts from me throughout the week. Strategies, motivation, all the things. So 973-358-7836. Can't wait to hear from you. Hello, Digital Business Evolution. I'm so excited today to be bringing you the one and only Jodie Cook, which I'll give her a formal introduction in just a moment. But Jodie and I actually met recently through a DM through my best friend, Angela. So Angela Gargano had interviewed Jodie for a podcast and immediately getting off had texted me and said, you have to meet this woman. You're going to love her. She's incredible. She's just like us. And I want to connect you. So here we are just a couple of weeks later. Jodie, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, just like us. Yes, 100%. Can tell already.
Yeah. I love that you said right before we started recording, there's this Venn diagram of someone who's into health and fitness is this like high achiever and then also an entrepreneur. And that magical thing in the middle is where we fall, right?
Yeah,
I love it.
Definitely.
So let me do a formal intro so the audience knows who you are. Jodie is an entrepreneur, an author, an athlete on a mission to see what she's capable of and help others do the same. She built and recently sold a marketing agency that she started at the age of 22. She writes books and articles on the topics of entrepreneurship, including articles for Forbes, and she competes for Great Britain in powerlifting, which is so cool. Jodie writes about how you can run a business without it running you, which I definitely want to dive into, how to live an extraordinary life while running a business, and how to bring the best version of yourself to every single day. Her books include Stop Acting Like You're Going to Live Forever and How to Raise Entrepreneurial Kids. Her newest book, 10-Year Career, is all about reimagining business, designing your life, and fast-tracking your freedom, and it is available now. So Jodie, without further ado, thank you so much for just spending some time with us today.
No worries. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. So because we were recently introduced, I would love if we can get to know you a little bit deeper. I'm going to do a round of rapid fire questions. You cool?
Yes.
All right. Aside from your incredible books, what are you currently reading?
Oh, I'm currently reading Principles by Ray Dalio because it came top in an article I wrote for Forbes about the books that billionaires recommend. So I was like, well, if billionaires recommend this book, I need to read this book.
Yeah. Principles?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Where is your favorite place to travel?
I think my favorite place in the world is Cape Town because it ticks a lot of the boxes in terms of being on the water, having a healthy, fitnessy like vibe, having lots of great food, and scenery, mountains, things to climb.
Yeah, I haven't been there, but when I lived in Australia, my roommate was from there. So I definitely feel the pull to visit. Best piece of advice for life or business that you've been given?
Oh, best piece of advice is filter the advice that you receive and don't always take it on board because it's so easy to just think that you need to follow what everyone else tells you should do. But I think it's more important to have your own filters in place so that you don't follow blindly everything that you hear.
Oh, I love it. Where are you currently located?
For the next 10 days, I am in Birmingham, UK, and that's my hometown.
Sure. And because you're a power lifter, we have to know, what is your current PR?
Oh, so my deadlift is my strongest lift. So I compete in the 57 kilo category, which is 124 pounds, if anyone wants in pounds.
Thank you for the math.
Yeah. And my deadlift is 185 kilo, which is about 400 pounds.
What? Oh my goodness. That's incredible. How'd you get into powerlifting?
Well, I started off going to the gym and lifting weights after I started going to the gym and messing around on cardio and stretching, which is what lots of people do when they first arrive. And then when I started lifting weights, I think I went down the path of doing what lots of entrepreneurs do when they begin a hobby, which is that you can't really have a hobby. You have to have goals and targets. And so I started squatting more, and then met someone who competed in powerlifting. And he said, hey, you're getting pretty good at this. You should have a look at what other girls your weight are lifting, because I think you could start competing. So then my ears pricked up at the word competition. I was like, really? Me? I could compete? And then, so I had a look, did some research, and turned out I could start. And I wasn't necessarily like, going to be the top, but I could definitely hold my own amongst the other people who were powerlifting. So I rocked up to my first competition, had no idea what to expect at all, but then I loved it so much that I just got the bug, and I've been competing for about 6 years now.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you think there's a lot of parallels between sort of that competitive mindset, that high achiever mindset with fitness that you have, and bring it into your business as well?
I feel like I just can't help myself. I think it's really difficult to just have a hobby that you don't take seriously and you don't get really intense on, but I quite like it. It almost feels like meditation. When I'm in the gym, I'm so focused on lifting that no work stuff enters my head. I don't check my phone. It's all on airplane mode. So I'm very like, I am a lifter right now. Yeah. And I think that really helps every other area of my life.
So this is just a question that I'm purely asking because I'd love to know, how do you discern? I'm sure you get a lot of ideas. People call them downloads, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're a visionary, you're a doer, you're a maker. How do you discern when an idea comes in that it doesn't always have to be, or does it, a business model, right? So many times I'm like, that's such a good idea, I should monetize it. How do you navigate that?
I always carry paper on me, always. And I get really like antsy if I don't have paper on me. And if stuff just comes into my head, I'll just write it down and then I'll leave it there. And I'll just trust that the fact that it's written down means that I can come back to it later. I can turn it into something if I want to. But at the same time, I'm so focused on doing less but better that I'm pretty good at not letting little side projects start, because the focus is like, I think the focus is what gives people the edge, like having it, because hardly anyone does.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. The scattered focus is what gives you scattered results, right? And we all have so many things. There's so many shiny objects. There's so much noise, and it's so easy to get caught up in that. So do you have any tips or tricks on how to sort of keep the focus and stay in your own lane, or are you just really good at it?
I'd say don't multitask. Avoid multitasking at all costs. Time block your day. If you are lots of different things, like a writer, an entrepreneur, an athlete, a mother, all these different things, like split them out, because I think it's such a false economy being in the gym thinking about work, or being at work thinking about like texting your friends. It's like split stuff out and guard the boundaries between them so well. And then to avoid things like starting side projects, or maybe, I don't know, getting involved in collaborations that you think might be a good idea, I'd say journaling has really helped me there, because if you're feeling distracted, there's probably quite a big reason why, and getting to that why is really important. And is it because you don't really believe in your existing project, or is it because you're looking for a new challenge, or is it just a self-sabotage thing going on, or are you scared of success? Are you scared that you could be onto something huge? So rather than go after it, you're letting things get in the way, because actually you don't want the success that you feel like you could be on the brink of.
Oh, I'd love to unpack that. I feel like so many people do this, myself included, where it's that sabotage of, it could be so many different things, right? There's a past of maybe rejection, and you want to avoid it. So you sabotage and you don't do it. You don't follow through. Or there's the sabotage of, like you said, I don't want to have the success because then I have to keep it, or I have to continuously grow it. And I'd actually love to take a little bit of a pivot here. So you recently sold an agency, which is incredible. So congratulations. It's just awesome. It's so cool to see. I would imagine that after selling an agency, and I think you did for a beautiful number, right? A number that maybe would even help kind of cushion the blow of needing to work again, or definitely give you some space before you needed to work again. How have you navigated like having that quote unquote success, having that money come in, selling that agency, and then not sabotaging to say like, I'm done, or how am I ever going to build something the same, equal to, or bigger? How do you navigate that?
That's so funny that you asked that, because when we sold, I was on the phone to my accountant and he was like, wow, that could be the biggest. No, he asked, start again. When we sold, I was on the phone to my accountant and he said, could that be the biggest transaction you ever do in your life? And what I realized from the way he asked the question is that he believed it was. And I was like, oh my God, have I peaked here? I'm only 32. I hope. So that's what I said to him. I said, well, I'm only 32. I hope not. And he was like, oh yeah, okay, sure. Because I don't want to have peaked at 32. So I think that what it did for me, selling that agency, it kind of put me onto a new game. So the game of building and selling an agency was completed. And now I'm on a game of what else can I do? And now that money is kind of taken out the equation, it's like I can just optimize for something else. I can optimize for having fun or making a bigger impact. And I know they're not mutually exclusive, but it's quite cool not thinking about the monetary side of it at all and just thinking about the other side. So it's just unlocked a new level, I would call it.
Yeah. When you built the agency, when you first started it, was your intention to sell it one day?
Absolutely not. I didn't even realize I could until 6 months before I sold, when I met a broker who talked me through the process and said, here's how you sell your agency. I didn't even think that I could. I was having so much fun running it because I was running it kind of as a lifestyle business. So I would travel. I had a team of 16. I had an amazing general manager who looked after everything, who I just love. I saw her this week, actually. She's like my favorite person ever. And so no, it wasn't on my radar because I just really enjoyed running it. And then various things happened during COVID, which meant we shrunk and then grew again and then grew back more. And then it was at the end of going through that summer of the biggest roller coaster of my entrepreneurial journey so far that I thought now is the time to sell it.
Wow. And did you know when you were selling it what the next thing you were going to do was?
I didn't know at the time, but we met 12 different potential buyers. I was so happy that it was during COVID because I had leggings on, it was on Zoom. I didn't have to travel around the whole world meeting potential buyers, but all of them without fail said, what do you want to do next? And my best guess at a response was, I want to write, because I already wrote articles for Forbes. I already wrote books, and I figured I might want to do that all the time. What I realized after selling is that writing books and articles on entrepreneurship when you are not an entrepreneur is freaking impossible. And not only is it impossible, it's so boring because my muse was gone. I didn't have the material. I didn't have all the hiring and dealing with clients and suppliers and all that stuff that was turning into amazing articles. I didn't have it. So that's when I was like, I think I want to start another business. So I always came full circle, and maybe I just realized that the agency that I sold wasn't the business that I wanted to do more with. So it was quite a cool realization to have.
That's incredible. I love how much you've also just sort of surrendered or trusted the whole process and how it has unfolded, because I believe so many of us get caught up in the how and the when and the why and the where and all the details that it hinders us from actually even taking action. So the mere fact that you said, well, I'm going to figure it out, and it's pivoted and evolved, as we say in our podcast all the time, it's these tiny little evolutions, these tiny little pivots and tweaks that get you to the next stepping stone, to the next thing. So one of the things that I love about you, I was stalking your Instagram account. I believe we have very similar business philosophies, which is really, really cool. And I love reading about this 10-year career framework. So can you talk to us about what that is?
Yes, definitely. 10-year career framework is from my new book, 10-year career. And I believe it's a really useful way of mapping the entrepreneur journey so that you don't get confused, and so that you do the right things at the right time rather than falling into all the pitfalls that entrepreneurs can easily fall into. So the framework has 4 stages: execute, systemize, scrutinize, and exit. And each of the 4 stages has the right things to do and the wrong things to do. So my favorite, the best stage is execute, because that's the first really exciting one, when you're busy, you're saying yes, you're creating your concept, you're defining your target audience, and you're finding out how you reach them. And the good thing at this stage is that it is super busy and you are saying yes and you are busy. But if you carried on like that forever, it would be totally unsustainable and it would just lead to burnout. Yeah. So the goal is that you hit that milestone of your execute phase, and then you move to systemize, and then you work on creating your business to be this well-oiled machine that you really, really enjoy running. And so the pitfalls of kind of every stage is doing stuff that is the right thing to do in one stage, but not the right thing in another. So maybe in the execute stage, you might get the advice to, lie back and let the money flow and just visualize and say no to this, like protect your time. When actually that is so the wrong thing to do in the execute phase. But maybe in the scrutinize phase, the third one, it's the right thing to do, because you want to guard your time. You're probably not going to be going to random networking events because you've kind of graduated past that. Yeah. So I think it's quite a useful framework that demystifies the whole thing and means that there's hustle where hustle's due, but at the same time, there's like chilling out when you have earned yourself the right to at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. As music to my ears, especially right now, I don't know what it looks like for you in your world, but certainly with a lot of our clients and with the coaching industry that we're in and digital marketing, there's been a lot of talk over the last year or two of sort of the anti-hustle culture. And I believe the pendulum swung too far to just the ease and flow. And there's this misdirected message out there. This is my belief, that people are expecting results without doing the work because, I'm supposed to just sit back and receive. And I think it could be very confusing, especially for someone in the earlier stages, where you put it in the execute stages. And I love that, because there is an element we talk about of be, do, have, but people are trying to eliminate the do. And, I remember a couple of years ago working with a coach who, her group of peers, they all had reached burnout. Like they all built these 7-figure businesses, then they reached burnout, and then their messaging shifted to, you don't have to burn out to reach a 7-figure business. And I used to sit there questioning, I believe what you're saying is true, but I've yet to see someone do it. And I myself was not able to do it without elements of burnout. Have you ever experienced any sort of burnout in your business or health?
I think that I have. I've worked incredibly hard, and I don't know anyone who's reached a level of success who hasn't. I actually wrote an article about this called Anti-Hustle Culture is Hurting Early Stage Entrepreneurs. I'll send you.
I love it. Please do.
I think you'll quite enjoy it. I don't know. A lot of it is maybe how you frame it, but that's why I'm so keen that the execute phase, where you are going crazy everywhere. I think I was at morning, lunch, and dinner networking events, and I was speaking at half of them because I was like, this is how you get clients, this is how you build stuff up. But if I hadn't had this point in the future where this was going to stop, or where it was going to be like, okay, now I need to automate, eliminate, delegate, now I need to actually make myself a business, I think I probably would have hit burnout, because it would be unsustainable, and you can't just keep going forever like that.
Yeah. There's seasons, right? And I think so many of our listeners too are into health and fitness, and they work out. And I was a trainer for 18 years. I always relate things back to fitness. It's the same thing with moving your body and fitness and goals or food. There's seasons. There's seasons in life. There's seasons in nature. There's seasons in the business. And so, okay, we have this execute, which quite frankly, some of our listeners are even stuck before they execute, because they're getting in their own way. So do you have any tips for someone who's like the dreamer? They've got all these big vision ideas, but they don't even know where to start in the execute phase.
Yeah, sure. If you're thinking about even say what business to start or go forward with, I would say that the first thing you should do is define your parameters. So for my next business idea after the agency, it was like, what kind of business do I want to start? What are the kind of what's the framework for it? What are the boundaries that it has to have? And for me, for example, it was something that has to be location independent, has to have an audience of entrepreneurs, has to be something that could reach a certain amount in revenue, has to be something that fits in with my zone of genius, and just parameters. It's going to be different for everyone, but what are those things? Because if I didn't have those, I would open a gym, and I know that ultimately that's not the right thing for me. But it's what I would do without the boundaries. And then after that, I would say go on this journey of ideation, where you put yourself in different situations, so different coffee shops, different cities if you can, different places, and just go and get this pattern interrupt, so you think in a different way, and then write down all the ideas you have, and don't do anything at all with them. So no buying domain names, which is hard. No like researching. Don't look at what else is out there. Don't talk to anyone about them. Just unpack them and just say, okay, if this is my business, let's imagine, how would I reach customers? What would I do? Would I be really excited about it? And I did this with 27 different ideas before picking idea 22, but I'm so happy it happened, because idea 22 was the one that I couldn't stop thinking about. But if I'd have gone ahead with idea 1, it would have been a terrible, terrible idea. And we have a lot of bad ideas, so we have to keep writing them down and not moving forward until we see the right ones.
I love that. So we go from the ideation into the execution. You glazed over kind of systematizing, which is my love language, systematizing, automating, delegating, all of that. And then you started to talk a little bit about scrutinize, which is maybe where the season that you get to like pull back a little, enjoy, receive, kind of reassess, and then exit. Do we always have to exit in the terminology people are thinking right now when they're listening, as in sell my company, or what else could exit mean? And what does someone do who doesn't actually want to exit?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, scrutinize is super important, because it's a bit of a checkpoint. It's where you go, okay, so I've executed like crazy. I've got this systemized business that I really enjoy running. What do I do now? And there are so many options, and not many business owners make it here at all. They get stuck in execute. They try and systemize. And if you think systemizing doesn't necessarily make you money, it might cost you money, because you're hiring people, you're using software. You have to see it as an investment, and you have to trust that it will get you to the scrutinize phase and to this business that you love to run. So in scrutinize, you could decide that actually you want a new challenge, and you could go start another business. You could decide that you want a new challenge in your existing business, and you could head back down to execute on a different level. You could decide that you want to hang out and scrutinize. Like, that's what I did. For 5 years, it was travel the world, have a company, but just kind of enjoy the lifestyle business. Or you could proceed to exit. But I don't think exit needs to be selling your company. It could just be owning it, but not having any part in its involvement. I think that's hard. I personally don't think I would be able to do it, but I know it's possible for some people, because they can have those boundaries that say, do not contact me, no matter what is on fire. Do not contact me, because I have exited. So there's a couple of different ways to exit, and there's also loads of different ways to sell your business. You could sell part of it. You could do a management buyout. There's lots of different options.
Yeah. Hey, I'm jumping in to tell you about our newest free tool, a tool that will change the way you approach your business. After working in digital marketing and the coaching space for nearly 10 years, working with thousands, scaling to multiple 7 figures, and helping our clients generate over $11 million in revenue, I've recognized a pattern from all of the most successful coaches and entrepreneurs. They all have an awareness that struggling business owners don't have. You see, they know their unique coaching superpower. After taking this quiz, you'll uncover which of the 4 superpowers runs through your DNA. This awareness will help you discover your personal strengths and blind spots so that you can succeed faster, make a bigger impact, and exponentially grow your income. To take this free quiz, just head on over to jessglazer.com/quiz, and you'll be on your way to harnessing your superpower in minutes. Don't forget to share it and let me know which superpower you have. Tag me at I am Jessica DeRose. So I want to go back for a second. You used the word parameter, and the word freedom comes up a lot. This 10-year career framework, right? To create this freedom. And there's so many different levels of freedom, and there's different parameters that we could have. And you've now said a couple different times, which I always say as well, let's not have our business run our life, right? We want to build the business around our life. And so I saw on your Instagram a training that you did around the idea that your life doesn't need to actually cost $1 million. And you walked your audience through creating a T-chart, which my audience, I was an elementary school teacher. So like, I love a good T-chart. I love a good Venn diagram. I would love if you could share with our audience this really quick exercise that they could do where they're figuring out what their dream life would really cost them.
Yes, I love this exercise so much. So it starts with a blank piece of paper, as all the best things do. And it starts with a line down the middle and a T-chart formation. So the headers at the top, on the left, it's frequency. On the right is what do I want to do? And the frequency lines are every day, every other day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. And on the right-hand side, you write down next to those frequencies what you want to do. And it doesn't have to just include the big things. So put the big things in there. So maybe mine was I wanted to travel for 1 month in every 3 for the whole month. And then put the other stuff that you want to do, like you want to eat in nice restaurants. Maybe you want a chef. Maybe you want a childminder. All the stuff that you want, put it in those increments, how often it happens. But also include the little things. So like a cuddle a day, or having ice cream every other day, or going to the beach, or whatever it is. But basically map out your dream life. And then the next thing to do is cost it out. So assign a cost in every box to every item, and then work out what that costs you for your whole year. And when I first did this exercise, I was amazed at how little my dream life costed. And then you stare at it and you're like, wow, this is so attainable. Yeah. And then what I tried to do was get it so that that amount was arriving to me without me having to necessarily be kind of on the clock for it. I didn't want to get it through an hourly rate. I wanted to get it because my business was earning me that in profit.
Yeah. So like a recurring revenue or like an evergreen sort of passive income coming in that you're not necessarily trading time for money.
Yeah. And that's a really big part for me of running a business without it running you. I want my business to make money by default, not because I have to always be closing. Yeah. And I want it to work by default, not because not kind of by accident. Yeah. So yeah, recurring revenue is a really big part of my agency and of future businesses. That's one of my parameters as well.
Oh, I love that. So when we're talking about recurring revenue in your definition of this, the audience knows what this is. We talk about it all the time. I believe in one container. We have a lot of coaches that listen to this, a lot of online entrepreneurs. So recurring revenue often feels like, or we assume is like a membership or people paying you monthly or evergreen products or programs. But I'm wondering for you, do you ever take the recurring revenue outside of that sort of bucket and then do something else over here where maybe it's like investing in real estate or having money come in completely different areas that have quote unquote nothing to do with your actual business? Or are you just talking about recurring revenue inside the business?
I think it's a bit of both. I think recurring revenue inside the business through all of those streams that you've mentioned, but then definitely a portion of that going into stuff that's other investments, then yeah for sure, is a really good idea. I think it's a good idea to have. I don't really believe in multiple income streams that are all things that you have to work on, but multiple income streams, maybe one of them is a Vanguard account, one of them some real estate, then yes, I fully believe in that.
Yeah, same. When you're looking at inside the business, people often get very blinded by having a lot of offers and they want to have a million different products and a million different offers. And they're essentially always launching something. What's your business philosophy? What's your business take on having maybe 1 or 2 signature things and then some stuff behind the scenes versus having like 100 offers up front?
I'm really big on doing less, but doing it better just in every single area. And I guess a big part of execute is find that flagship product, that flagship service. And if you don't know what it is, you probably haven't found it yet. I think too often we try and sell people what we want to sell them rather than sell them what they want to buy. And I don't think it's rocket science. I think your customers will tell you what they want to buy and therefore create it, and more people will want to buy it from you. I think you could name so many companies where it's like, this is our flagship product or this is our flagship service, and they've made an absolute killing off that. And then if they want to launch stuff off the back of that, fine, but they've already got that real solid foundation from which to do that.
Yeah. And again, I think this is the conversation coming up of like this battle between, I don't want to have to niche down anymore or niche down, right? But you look at those companies, even Apple, it's like, what do we know Apple for? Really the iPhone and then laptops, but really the iPhone. It's what we think of when we think of Apple. And of course they have, cords and desktop things and laptop cases, and they have all these accessories, but you go to Apple to either get a laptop or an iPhone generally.
Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, the iPhone's really struggling. What should we do? Oh, let's make a cable. It was like, no, the iPhone is absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
And we need other things for people to buy too. I think that's the way it should be done. But
Yeah.
it just requires being honest with yourself.
Yeah. And I think there's also there's a mindset shift that has to happen because people will sometimes fear going all in on one thing, or if I put all my eggs in one basket, then what happens? So how do you navigate that? What would you tell someone who's like, but I don't want to leave people out?
Oh man. I mean, I think we need to reframe eggs in baskets. Like justice for eggs in baskets. Like it is an amazing thing to have one basket. It's so good. Like if your basket is the iPhone, like sure, I'll have one. I'd rather have that than like a load of tiny little baskets that aren't really achieving much separately.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think that, yeah, I just think less but better is just a much better strategy. I also think that we need to be comfortable with using the phrase, it's not for you. Because no one is happy using it. They think that it's like, oh, it's discriminatory. It's, I can't turn down this income or whatever it might be. But I think the more you use it, the more valuable your product or service is to the people who it is for. Yeah. And I always think of Harley Davidson is a really good example. I think Seth Godin uses it in his books, but people get that tattoo. They get that that brand's logo tattooed on them because they feel like it gets them so well. And that is because they've had a lifetime of saying it's not for you to people who don't fit the brand, and they're happy to do it. So the more comfort we can get with saying it's not for you, the more that we can go find our dream clients who it is for.
Yeah. You just said two things that I want to go back because just golden nuggets. One, in talking about kind of the one offer, the one basket, really going deep, it just reminds me of what you said earlier. And it's that scattered focus will get you a scattered result. So when we're focused on 5 different offers, 10 different products, are we doing any of them really well? Right? I don't think so. And the second thing that you said that I want to circle back on, this is really interesting. So people do oftentimes sell what they want. I'm going to create what I want. I'm going to put the content out that I want, and it doesn't always convert. And so you said, give your audience what they want, create something for what they're asking for. How do you navigate? Because this comes up all the time. I officially left the fitness industry in 2020 after 18 years of, training and magazines and this, that, and the other. I left. And to be honest, I don't think you could pay me enough right now to train you, like parameter, right? Just boundary. I will not do it. So occasionally I'll still get a DM from an audience member asking me for it. So how do you navigate when the audience is asking you for something that you actually just don't want to create, but even worse, that you can, and even worse, it's the lowest hanging fruit. And there's that money sitting there where greed creeps in. So how do you navigate those waters of, my audience is asking me for something that I don't want to do?
That's so interesting. I'm in the same boat because I sold my social media agency, but my website still ranks for lots of social media terms because we use my personal website to get leads for the company. And people are always asking me, can you run my Twitter account? Can you be a social media consultant? I just say no. I've actually got it on my site. Sorry, I don't consult on social media anymore. And I'm happy to introduce you to someone. I can introduce you to the agency that bought mine, but just got to say no. Because I think a good exercise is imagine if you said yes, and then imagine it's tomorrow. How do you feel about it being tomorrow? And if you're like, oh, why did I say yes to that? Then it's just not worth it. And then it's fine to say no. You have to.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I think the other thing that we always talk about too, people will get confused. Not everything in the business is always fun and exciting. And so my mentor says, your business is not meant to entertain you. Get a hobby. And a lot of times the decisions that we're making in our businesses, especially with the buzz around alignment and flow and ease, we think that it always has to be just fun and rainbows and unicorns and lollipops, right? But sometimes there are things that we do in our business that isn't that way. So for the person listening who's like, I don't want to do the thing my audience is asking me for. Okay, you don't have to, right? That's the parameter. But then also know that there are still going to be things that you might not want to do. So I personally don't believe every single decision should just be based off of, fun, but rather we're looking at the long term. What's the long-term gain? What's the goal that we're going towards? What's the end result? What's the outcome for myself, my dream life, like you said, and my clients, right? And their transformation. So I love that. And I love the dream life activity that you took us through. It's such a tangible, easy thing to do. And I know when I did it, because Mike and I have done it, my husband, we were shocked to see the number come in of what it really would cost us. It was 1/3, 1/4 what, maybe the goals we were pushing for, what we thought that we needed. It just removes so much pressure too, to be like, oh, it's actually not that bad. It's not that hard. It's not that much. Yeah.
And then that in turn makes it easier to say, it's not for you. No, sorry, I can't train you.
Yeah. Yeah. So much easier. Okay. So as we start to put a bow on things, I want to chat just a little bit more about this new book. Like, tell us more about it. Who's it for? Where can people find it?
Yeah, a 10-year career. I'm so excited about it. I wrote most of it when my agency's sale was completing because I was just so impatient. And I knew that I had to channel this energy into something rather than just hurry the buyer up and hurry the lawyers up. Because if you ever tried to hurry lawyers up, you'll know that it does not work and you will only end up annoying yourself. So I made myself get up and go straight to the manuscript every morning for about 3 months and wrote it. And so it's called 10-year career. The subtitle is Reimagine Business, Design Your Life, Fast Track Your Freedom, because they're all 3 things that I'm so passionate about. And I believe I have the route to, or this, I don't want to say the secret to, but I think the book does hold kind of secrets. And it starts out on unpacking the ways in which we are trained out of thinking for ourselves and how it starts with schooling, but it's everywhere. And if you are tuned into it, you start to realize, and then you start to think, actually, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to do what everyone else is doing, or I don't want to think in that way because that is not conducive to a different kind of success. So then it moves into this question, what are we capable of? And helps the reader to understand what they might be capable of that they might have not realized before. Then it goes into the framework. It's got loads of stuff about sales, about just running a business, and about having an amazing life alongside it as well, because I don't think the two have to be mutually exclusive. So the framework's a fairly small part of it, but the book's just got so many different strategies for how to create amazing success on your terms in a way that doesn't have to last 45 years or however long a career is meant to take.
Yeah. Do you believe that the title is speaking to it's going to take 10 years, or is it more like the freedom that we actually get to jump from one thing to another and change our careers and evolve?
I really like the idea that you can take your career in 10-year chunks. And if you wanted to, you could reinvent yourself in 10 years. I feel like 10 years felt right because like mine took exactly that long, but it doesn't have to be 10 years. It could be a bit more, it could be a bit less. But the point is, short-term thinking is not super useful because you don't create relationships with people. You look for the quick wins. Everyone's a prospect when actually they might not be a prospect. They might just be a collaborator and you'll work together in 5 years. But if you try and sell them something straight away, you're going to lose that sale in 5 years. Yeah. And so short-term thinking doesn't really work out. But I don't think long-term thinking for like in the 45-year bracket doesn't really serve us either, because then we end up retiring in our 60s when our best days are behind us. We're too I don't know, we're not the people we were in our 30s. So it's much harder to make the most of whatever we want to do. Yeah. So I feel like 10 years is this really useful framework by which to operate. And I think it's attainable. I think following the steps in that order and doing the right things at the right time could lead to making work a choice within a decade.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I feel like so many entrepreneurs, especially at the beginning of their journey, 10 years feels so daunting and everybody wants it yesterday. And we're living in a time of faster, instant gratification. And, we are part of the problem. We're the ones who are saying faster, faster. We're liking the videos that are shorter and shorter. And so we are actually bringing it back into the system, whether it's social media or whatever it is. And so based on our actions and our habits, we're creating this new timeline, which is exhausting for people. But when you look, I'm almost 40, so I'm 38, a little bit older. And when I look at my life in these couple decades that have gone by, I have lived a couple different lives throughout these decades. They've been wildly different chapters. It's insane what you can actually get done. When I look 5 years ago, 10 years ago, my husband and I were completely different people, literally living an entirely different life. And I get excited about the idea that I could reinvent myself. We could evolve ourselves and our business and potentially build something. And if we wanted to exit it in 10 years, because that's actually such a small amount of time, it goes by so fast. And I talk to my clients all the time who are just so frustrated when maybe they launch something, it doesn't go the way that they want. And it's like, if you knew that you were going to be handed a check in 3 years for $1 million or 10 years for $100 million, like, would you sign on the dotted line and just be okay with letting things go the way they're meant to go for the next 3 years until that check comes in? Right. And the answer always is yes. And so we've put this pressure on ourselves, where reading the title, the 10-year career framework, could feel really daunting for a lot of people. But I love the way that you just reframe it and make it really fun. And the life is part of it. The journey throughout the process of getting there, like Gary Vee, he's like, I'm in love with the game, right? I'm in love with the process. And when you can really step into that, which it seems like you have, it just, I think it effortlessly feels then flowy. Like it just naturally feels fun and easy. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah, definitely. And I always think about arrival fallacy, this kind of fallacy that once we reach our ultimate destination, once we get there, and once we make it, like we'll reach this lasting happiness. But of course, as we probably all know, the goalposts change. We never actually arrive. It's like, you can't be in love with the destination. You have to be in love with arriving, because you're always going to be arriving, because we're only hurtling towards death.
Yeah.
And everything else is where it's actually happening. So I try really hard to stay as present as possible and not always just be nexting about whatever's tomorrow, next week.
Yeah. How do you check yourself back into order because I'm sure it happens sometimes where you are nexting. So how do you kind of get yourself back into present?
I just shout at myself. I just make sure that I don't do it. You know what I realized doing it with meal time? So me and my husband, because we both train a lot, we eat a lot. And so many times, like you're actually having breakfast talking about lunch. You're actually having lunch talking about dinner. And it was like, let's just enjoy the food that's right in front of us right now. And you almost have to go a bit further and almost comically say like, oh, this beetroot tastes nice, or like to make sure that you stay present. And then you start training your brain to do it more often. And I think that can happen with everything. It's like, you have to just be enjoying what you're doing at that very moment, right now, and make yourself do it.
Yeah. Oh, that resonates so deeply. There's nothing like sitting in your car eating asparagus that's cold out of a Ziploc bag, thinking about your next awful meal that you're going to have. I definitely experienced that for many, many years. Okay. So where can people find this book? Because I know I'm going to buy a copy right now. I'm so excited.
Oh, amazing. So it is at 10yearcareer.com with the 10 spelled out T, and all the links are there. It's available everywhere that sells books. There's an audio version, there's a Kindle version, there's a paperback version, and then I'm at jodiecook.com. And I would love to hear from anyone who's listened to this podcast who relates to any of the things that we've talked about. But yeah, happy to hear from everyone.
Yeah, I love that. All right. As we start to put a bow on things, because I can talk to you all day. Like I said, we definitely are in alignment with the way we approach business. So I love that. And of course, your accent. I mean, I could do this all day, but our last questions here. So number one, if I were to hypothetically write you a check for $50,000 and you could do anything in the business, for the business, or investing back into the business, what would be the first thing? How would you use the $50,000 tomorrow?
Oh, so because I don't have a business right now, I think that I would put it into some kind of training resort. So somewhere that I live for a lot of the year, some of the year, that has its own like cool training facility, and people come and train and I go and train, but it also has a place to work and do kind of podcasts and do fun stuff and write from at the same time. So I feel like that $50,000. Did you say dollars or pounds? It's about dollars right now anyway, so we're fine. I feel like I would buy a load of gym equipment, because I really like the idea of having a cool setup in your house.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I'll be there. I'm not going to write you the check, but I will be there. You know what I will do though? Hold on. You know what I will do? I didn't tell you this ahead of time. I'm going to buy 10 copies of your book, and I will be giving them out to the first 10 people that tag us and share on Instagram. They have to tag us both. So we'll give your Instagram handle at the end, the Jodie Cook Instagram handle, but 10 copies, we'll give those away to listeners. If you take a screenshot, you post it on social, you tag Jodie, and I will give the first 10 listeners a copy of your book. So I would love to do that. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Okay. And then the last question, because everyone needs to read your book. The last question, we believe that we are always evolving and growing, and our businesses are a reflection of us, and they'll only grow to the extent that we grow. And so I would love to know what your next business or personal evolution is.
Oh, cool. Okay. So the next business I want to build, I want to be $100 million business. That was one of my parameters. And at the same time, I've got some powerlifting goals that I've been reframing more recently, because I used to believe that you get all your main gains in the first few years, and then after that, you're chasing incremental goals and incremental gains. But now I've decided that I don't believe that anymore. And I feel like I can make big gains even though I've been training a long time. So that feels like the next evolution with powerlifting.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And it's such a good reframe too for the way we look at business. So I'm going to adopt that and borrow that if you're okay. Yeah, cool. Jodie, where can everybody find you? Where should they be tagging you?
So my website is jodiecook.com. And then if you search Jodie Cook on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, anything, then you can find me there as well.
Yeah. And it's Jodie D-I-E, not a Y.
Jodie.
Yes. Jodie, thank you so much. I can't wait to get my hands on this book and to give these away. Again, first 10 people that take a screenshot of this episode, tag Jodie and I. Make sure you let us know what your biggest takeaway was, what exercise you're going to do that Jodie left us with. We know that's the best gift to give back to a listener. And I will give away the first 10 people that share. Jodie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so grateful. I'm so glad that Angela connected us, and I can't wait to just watch along on your journey for this next evolution.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Yeah. And as always, listeners, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.